Dear Venerable Sir, Dhamma friends, today also we are going to take time for the talk today. So may everyone settle down for the talk and give the consent with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Seelavanta uso kottita bhikkhuna rupang dukkhato manasika tabbati ti. Venerable Sir, Dhamma friends, yesterday we got the same quotation from the particular discourse known as Sila Sutta, whereby Venerable Mahasariputta and Venerable Mahakottita, very quite renowned 2 disciples of the Buddha at the contemporary time of the Buddha, have a dialogue, whereby Venerable Mahakottita is asking a specific question from Venerable Mahasariputta. Dear Venerable, whenever someone is accomplished or endowed with the moral restraint, what must be his attitude or his aim, his contemplation upon the Dhamma? This is becoming a specific question because according to the conventional teaching of the Buddha, whenever someone is accomplished with moral conduct or moral restraint or moral aspect, he or she must look forward to have the concentration, restraint, conduct. And once that is achieved, he or she must go to the wisdom restraint, wisdom conduct. Being it is the conventional answer, here Venerable Mahakottita is presenting the question in such a way, open question for Venerable Sariputta, taking the chance Venerable Sariputta is directly answering without stressing, without highlighting this concentration restraint. Soon after the moral restraint, he gives guidance directly to look into or advert the mind to the wisdom training. That's the philosophical meaning of this quotation. Seelavanta uso kottita bhikkhuna rupang dukkhato manasika tabba. So this is normally not very common and popular kind of presentation, but when you listen to the discourses or you are studying the discourses at large about maybe 5% of the suttas or discourses, you have that kind of a radical presentation. And that part being not much popular in the recent past, but nowadays, due to the interest from the East and the West, secular as well as the religious, these discourses became more and more popular. They became more radical in presentation, and therefore it is, you can see some renowned masters, present-day masters, take them and give discourses so that the personalities, those who have that kind of traits, these suttas become very popular among them. Because present-day Buddhism as such is not limited to the forest traditional monks. It has gone beyond boundaries and well reached the laity. And among the laity also, specifically the females, they have so much of work, they have so much of multitasking, responsibilities, and even if a housewife or a female happy or endowed with precepts and wish to advance, wish to continue, and if the concentration or restraint is a must, it will be a kind of a discouragement, because household atmosphere or the responsibilities are not much conducive for this concentration training. So therefore, the traditional presentation appear, it is secluded specifically for the forest monks, those who are dedicated their whole life and living the spiritual path. Otherwise, very difficult to earn this concentration, more difficult to maintain already earned concentration. Under such circumstances, if there is a direct touch or direct pass or shortcut from morality or moral restraint to the wisdom, this kind of people, they find shortcuts and they take interest. They have also, one must listen to this kind of presentation, just the theory, just book knowledge, get the hypothesis, look at the materiality as impermanent, look at the materiality as source of suffering, as a friction. So one must correct, or one must discipline or orient one's mind just to look from this perspective, just to look at the materiality or corporeality or your body as something impermanent, or see your body or corporeality or the kaya in Pali is a source of suffering. Likewise, there is 11 facets. When Saripati is presenting, the first one is this impermanent nature, the second one is this, the suffering nature. Likewise, it is going, and generally it is talking about the three characteristic: impermanence, suffering, and non-self character. So today we are going to take the theoretical presentation that how to look into the matter or to the corporeality as something, as source of suffering. Even if you accept this presentation, this profession, the profess, and if you do not know the methodology, you will get exhausted. You will never reach somewhere. Ultimately, you will reject it, telling it is unverifiable as far as you don't know the methodology. And even if you know the methodology, I would like to mention it's a kind of a trial and error method. There is no assurance. Each and every person accept this theory, each and every person using this methodology is going to reach the target. There is no assurance. Still it is a trial and error. But it is very adventurous. It is very irrational. So therefore, if you wish to take it as an adventurous case or hobby, you can keep on practicing or keep on advert your mind to this hypothesis and see how much it is you can prove within your very life. So the Buddha, not only presenting the theory, he presents the methodology. He says the materiality, two types: me and not me. So that boundary, understanding this materiality, this is me, this is myself, this is mine, and this is not me, is a very, very cultural issue. It's a quite dependent upon your upbringing, depending upon your belief system, depending upon your likings and disliking, depending upon your personality trait. But you never question it unless otherwise you undertake this kind of a meditation. So first you take materiality This is physics. And you have 3 dimensions. The width, breadth and the depth. Specific gravity. And gravitational forces. Individual characteristics. Exactly the same the way the Buddha is teaching. The difference between physics as a science and the materiality the Buddha presenting, only different is physics is outwardly, but the Buddha is teaching inwardly. Not exclusively inwardly, but he gave a fair emphasis onto the internal, inward, introvert character. So therefore method is the same, but the direction you have to understand at the outset. So therefore the Venerable Mahasariputta is telling Panchupadana Khande Anichchato Manasikātabba. Panchupadana Khanda in this context is what you believe as this is my body, this is my feeling, this is my perception, this is my volitional activities, this is my consciousness dividing me and not me. So what all the 5 are known as attachments. Upadana Khanda. And out of that, for a beginner, easiest or first principle, the materiality is the starting point. So therefore the Buddha, he accepts the materialities 2 ways, external and internal. And external, he says, infinitum, you will never end experimenting as far as you are outwardly. That is what's happened to the present day physics. They completely lost. Tao of physics is bewildered now. It's gone. But whenever you focus the attention inward, there may be an end. You can go because there's a starting limitations are there, but outwardly infinitum. So therefore, if you have studied the physics to a certain extent, you can understand the physics is very lucrative, very interesting subject, just like mathematics. You can go into that and it is leading one to the other, it is going further and further. Using the same methodology, if you put inwardly, take your body as a materiality called me, then how much you can pay the attention to your body without intentional, without volitional, without willful action. So without a will, without a volitional activity, without intention, this body is a heap of materiality. So imagine how difficult you to make this body just matter. That means without will, without volition, without conscious changing. Then you take this body as a target point, pivotal point, reference point, object of meditation. So this is the starting point. So when and where you focus your attention, Manasikātabba is translated as adverting of the mind, pointing, directing to the mind, to your body. So it's a very interesting character in the mindfulness. When and where your body, when and where your mindfulness is engaged with your so-called me, materiality, my body, you have to utterly forget about the rest of the world. Without forgetting the external world, external materiality, you will never successful be mindful in the body. So therefore, if you can claim this mind is given moment, my mind is 100% with myself, that means you are 100% forgotten, done away with the world. That is very difficult. That is why even if you try to keep the mind in the body, It thinks in terms of the past, that is roaming around the world outside. Think in terms of future planning, with so much of excitement and external world. And you think outside people and outside places. So that means your mindfulness utterly, right from the beginning, hating this very body, this very thought moment. Specifically when it is free of will, free of volition, free of conscious activities, it's a kind of a scientific experiment. You make your body a lump of materiality and focus attention to this body. The Buddha himself claims not a single commoner can think this as the way out. It never happened. It never coincidence. Only by listening to Buddha, only by listening to his teaching, only one day one will take even this challenge, whether he or she may be successful or not, separate story. But take this body as a pivotal point, take this point as the body as the benchmark or object of meditation, and thoroughly absorb. 100% you be with your body is a very, very rare chance. Therefore it is very spiritual, very religious, but it's just mindfulness. You select this body covered with your skin, above your soul, below your hair. This is area we consider as the materiality. So imagine how many thought moments you can be with so-called me. So-called my materiality is so difficult. That is why we call wandering mind, we call past and future, we call the bewildering, other places, other people. So early, very early part of your meditation is to be friendly with your body. Or know the limitation, this is me, this is not me. So moment you bring the attention, moment you know the art, the way to keep the attention within the body, you feel completely strange because you will be dumbbound, you will never can explain what is the experience of here and now. That means your whole language, your grammar, your presentation, your articulation, your communication, everything completely blocked. You are utterly experiencing, but how to express? That very experience is some people get so scared of, fearful, they can't even think about that. So imagine one knowing this is the path, I am advancing in terms of mindfulness, I know my anchorage, I know I am not in the past and the future, I know I am not in the other places, I know I am not with other people, here and now. That very experience, exactly the Buddha. That is what you are learning for the first time in a short retreat like that. That feeling exactly the equal with the Buddha. So therefore, if you wish to get the direct touch with the Buddha experience, or living Dhamma, or to claim that I am a meditator, or to claim I am mindful, this experience will be your seconding partner. And more you familiarize it, more and more you season it, try to understand it, you have to find your own ways and means. Many people think there may be some holy books or heavenly being come and tell you how to be here and now. Nothing such. Nothing as such. It is just common sense. Many people think there may be very secret formulas, golden formulas, holy books, spiritual ghosts, all the kind of... It's all nonsense. If you know what to do, that is to keep the mind here and now, and that is the starting point of the materiality. That materiality is what we call me, internal, and it's a very big achievement. Sometimes I feel like telling, this is the beginning of your spiritual life, this is the middle of your spiritual life, this is the end of your spiritual life. This is the only thing you have to realize, only thing you have to verify. But whenever you keep on practicing, you have to understand your own ways and means how to keep the mind here and now. So imagine you close your eyes in order to facilitate this inward journey towards so-called me, and whenever you experience here, now I am, that means I am not dead, I am not sleeping, I am not unmindful or unconscious, and try to familiarize this experience. The day you familiarize, you can question it radically. Is there any male-female difference between this experience? Is there any aging problem, aging phenomena with respect to this here and now? Is there any time relevance? Is there any space relevance? Nothing. This is such a spiritual vast experience, free of charge. Any human can go there, but no one goes by their own will. Even someone is going to tell you, and even if you believe and if you try your everything, you can see how much your mind is a magic mind, tricky mind, cheating mind, perverted mind. Even if you theoretically know, very difficult to keep it. So imagine you try to learn ways and means to keep the mind here and now, that is to understand materiality. Then you may see there are two kinds of energy waves. One thing is the flat kind of energy wave. You know throughout you are not dead, you are not sleeping, you are not unmindful. The another kind of energy, it's an in-breath, out-breath, rising and falling, sounds, thoughts, pains. They are spikes like, they have short waves. And whenever you expose to them, after long experimenting, the Buddha himself realized the immature mind is very happy with this wavering, short wave energies. So therefore, never mind, as a beginner, you can see when you close your eyes and observe your body, what do you experience? Whatever the experience, even it is positive and very front of you, you can't explain the experience of not dead. Oh, I am living. There are no words to explain that I am not sleeping. There are no words to explain that I am not unconscious. But whenever the in-breath, out-breath happens, or supposing you see the rising and falling happens, or a sound came and interrupt you, or thought came and interrupt you, or a pain came and interrupt you, that stand separately. So you can try, or you can give a chance, take a chance and try to understand what is the difference between in-breath and out-breath versus a sound. What is the difference between in-breath and out-breath versus a thought? What's the difference between in-breath and out-breath versus pain? Then you are advancing. Of course, you consider pain as a disturbance, thought as a disturbance, or sound as a disturbance. But anyway, due to your mindfulness, now you can see what so-called materiality, so-called me, there are some phenomena, everything is voluntary, involuntarily happening. You try to say this is a thought, this is a pain, this is a sound, this is in-breath, this is out-breath. So just to see discrete understanding among them, you label them. It's a technique, it's a tool. You label, this is in-breath, this is out-breath, it's a sound, this is a pain. So when you keep on, we call it is bookkeeping in our life for the first time. When you keep on continuing with this bookkeeping, you can understand how much the mind is wandering, how much the mind is be with the primary object. It is utterly discouraging. It's a very painfully slow. It never gather the momentum. So you can understand simply, if you are wise enough, if you have the quick wit, what is the agenda behind that? Who decides that the pain, thought, sounds, in-breath and out-breath? Even if you wish to maximize in-breath and out-breath, you find how difficult. So what is the agenda? If you are not taking this chance, if you are not mindful, where is this monkey mind is running? Where is this wild buffalo pulling us? And when and where you keep bookkeeping, it's running to bankruptcy, disappointments, and you get frustrated. You will desperate. 100 times if you shoot to the target, sometimes even not one thing is hitting on the target, everything is bewildered. So therefore you can understand why only very little amount of people meditating, others are happy with their own hobbies, their own negligence, their own way of escapism. So if we are not meditating, we are utterly dragged away by this escapism, and after doing all the foolish thing, we have 1001 way of reasoning why I did it. How long will it take? It is not that you did, it is something happened to you. It's a bankruptcy. Therefore you must have so much of personality to see. More and more you note, more and more you bookkeep, more and more you analyze it, you can see it's an utter waste of time. But there is no other way. This is the only trial and error method. So one day, even with that patience and even with that trial and error and even with that the striving, when you keep on doing, sometimes you may see, with respect to the time allocated, now you can be little more than, compared with the past, with the breath or be with your sitting posture. Still the bombarding sounds are happening, pain, thoughts are happening, but more and more you try to maximize the primary object. The sounds, the thoughts and the pains are not really disturbing them unless you disturb them. You are the person disturbing the sounds, they comes to go. You are the person disturbing pains, they comes to go, arising to pass away, pain. And even the breath, arising and passing away. So later you will understand the adverting power or directing power to the pivotal point, the reference point, the benchmark. And this is, for an example, the Buddha mentioned the target shooting, archery. When you are learning, fixed with the fixed target and try to shoot arrows or with a gun, you have to keep on firing in order to get the target board, and so much so you have to learn a precise hit on the bullseye. So likewise, more and more you practice, imagine you can keep few breaths, maybe 2-3 in a row, and then you will get encouraged because now you are learning materiality. It is not a sound, it is not a thought, it is not a pain, this is in-breath and out-breath. So more and more you continue, there's a kind of keeping the object in view with, keeping the object face to face with. So once that arising mind together with the rising and falling only, you can have a scientific observation of your primary object. Here we take the in-breath and out-breath as the example. Otherwise it is in a swift, it's passing away so quickly, very difficult to comment. More and more you try to keep the breath face to face with, then you become slowly, be friendly, be familiar with this breath, and it will take so much of time you to understand. You now see only the middle of the breath. Early part of the breath is very, very subtle. It is unperceivable. Once it comes up to the very gross, gushing air, slightly you can feel that friction, that aberration, that kind of a rubbing sensation at the wall of your nostrils or on top of your lip, and that you recognize as the breath. But soon it is disappearing to the nothingness, and then out-breath happen. So it will take long time, still you have to listen and still you have to contemplate, and then only you will understand. Object here means not the beginning, not the middle, end, but the middle. And still it's an achievement. So after long practice, after long familiarization and seasoning with the primary object, amidst of the pain, sound, thoughts, when and where you have the object is in a bell-shaped curve, only middle path you can see, because that is the path you can perceive. Other levels are below your perception level. But the phenomena, the beginning through the middle to the end, always happening, but you never perceive. Now your task must be to be prepared, to be alert, to see the arising part of the object. It is very thrilling thing. And disappearing part of the object. Then you will understand, so far our knowledge is limited to our observation. Even if it is eyewitness observation, it is only limited to the middle of the object. And then we claim, I saw it, I experienced it, this is my first-hand experience. So you will keep on arguing and you will be very arrogant. But when you are meditating only, you will understand you are talking nonsense. This is less than 50% of the object. So if you are to make a comment, the Buddha says you must see 11 facets of the object, then only you can claim you have seen the breath. You have meditated upon the breath. So even looking at the middle, good, well and good, but try to see the beginning, try to see the end. So the image in the day, you can see just rising in breath and disappearing in breath, rising out breath, disappearing out breath. What a kind of calibration, what a kind of subtlety, what a kind of refinement you must have in your mindfulness. Whenever you go, whenever you become very sensitive, well seasoned, well prepared, and then see the whole graph or the whole event of the breath, you will see complete, you get sucked into the object. Even outside thundering happens, you can't hear. At that time, there won't be any kind of thinking in your mind, because mind can't do two things at a time, so it is so absorbed. So there, you have forgotten the outside world, and this is called plunging into, go deep into the object. And when you observe it, you see the early part, the beginning, the latter part, what you call the end, is so quickly changing, so swift. Hardly you can make a comment. Before you make a comment, thing is transferred, thing is otherwise become evolved. So on the middle part only, the gross part only, you can catch, you can pick some characteristic, some manners, some shapes. Early parts are so swift. So that is why our mind is not naturally noting them. But you have to advert the mind in order to see the whole gamut, the whole series, the whole experience of the in-breath and out-breath. And then you can see more and more you see the object closely, more and more you see the object continuously, more and more you see the object vigilantly. It is so swift, so quickly changing. So your anicca or impermanent nature is become very, very obvious. Not only that, you can see this materiality is ever changing, it is ever tormenting, ever burning. It won't take even a split second to rest. So whenever you observe that fast changing energy, you also feel tired. That tiredness appear like a boredom. It appear like a monotonous. It appear like entertaining doubts. It appear like full of fear, uncertainty, and giddiness, sleepiness. So that indicates your mind is getting such a task. It's well geared to the subject, but mind is not prepared because it is coming out with so much of explanation, so much of escapism. So that part you have to rectify through interviews. You have to report it. When I keep saying, take the noting mind into my body, this is what the experience. Sometimes it's a failure, sometimes successful. Once it is gone to the body, the metabolic action of waves you can see. And with that wave is, the in-breath and out-breath wave is different from the sound waves, different from the thoughts, different from pain. So you have to discreetly say, this is in-breath, not out-breath, not a sound, not a thought, not a pain. This is out-breath, not a in-breath, just a thought, not a sound. Likewise, that your expression, your communication has to be very sharp. And the day you become face to face with the primary object, then the task, the homework is given just to see the beginning through the middle to the end. And once that is observed, any object, that is holographic effect, that is represented in the whole universe. So therefore at the beginning appear like you escape from the universe by getting into your body. But once you get into and get to one particle and go deep into, it is exactly the same. So that is why, even though it appears like unsocial, the Buddha is, please go into a forest, sit under a tree, or sit in a solitude place and forget about the rest of the world. Bring the attention to your so-called body, materiality, and within that materiality see the most prominent wave action, energy, and try to isolate them, delimit them, separate them, and take one thing as a pivotal point, one thing as a reference, one thing as objects of meditation, and go deep as much as possible. Ultimately you may see it represents the rest of the materiality, and it is nothing but a flux, nothing but a fast movement. And your mind has to be so lucid, your mind has to be so mobilized, your mind has to be so vigilant, so diligent, so mindful in order to see this fast movement. Present day science, when they are making the electron colliding lab, there are two things for the moment on the earth, USA and in Europe, and now they try to see the behavior of an electron or proton or whatever may be subatomic particle, and they try to see what will happen. Two will come head-on colliding, and then what thing can happen. Theoretically, they think when such a colliding happens, a black hole can happen, whole universe will be sucked into that. That will be the end of the humanity. That will be the end of the earth. So world has ruled out not to go for that experimenting electron colliding. So exactly the same thing happened in your mind. Whenever you try to see the flux, such a fast moving, you feel like sucked into. You feel like you get lost. And if you are mentally imbalanced, easily you can go mad. If you are physically imbalanced, you will be wavering. You will be moving. You may lose the control of your body. Such a big change is going to happen even on the materiality. And while observing, you see materiality as such, as a lump, appear permanent, shape, manner and individual characteristic. But when it go to the particles, go deep and deep, very close observation, they are all the same. They have just energy. It is not under the guise of time, space, it is called non-local phenomena you can see. So now with the scientific education, people are going to do it in the physical way, but the Buddha, under the Bo tree, when he was practicing, he tried to put it into a human experience and try to share with other fellow beings. Hey, come and sit, take mindfulness, take one object, look at it. Can you also see the same thing? So at the beginning it was a lack of communication. But when one or two person try to understand, yes, everything arising is passing away. There is nothing left. There is no cursor, no person. It's a nature. Then only the Buddha himself got encouraged, thought that is something communicable, that is experienceable. It is not destruction. It is not something madness. It is something reality. So they are the magic and the reality, or concept and reality, that loses the boundary. Moment that loses the boundary, you loses me and not me boundary. You can't see now phenomena, you can see whether it is you or not me, it is internal, external, that boundary is losing. So that itself is a suffering for a person who love or care about his own body as me, mine and myself. But if you go prepared with the faith and the precepts and the mindfulness, then you go there, you understand this energy, so-called me, this energy so-called not me, no difference. There is no boundary unless otherwise your concept. You put the boundary. Whenever you let phenomena to happen, they need no any guidance. They are happening in the universal law. And more you claim this is me, so much so, that part become ungovernable, that become a source of suffering. That become your commitment. So if you are claiming this everything is me, you have so much of source of suffering. But still, if you know the phenomena, if you have understood the material, you can claim the whole world. Even then you can get a distance. The world will run its own accord, whether you claim it or not. So you learn the art of disclaimer. You learn the art of disavowing. So this very body itself is happening according to the physical laws, happening according to the universal laws, happening according to the mental laws, provided there is no will, there is no intention, there is no conscious participation. So therefore this experimenting with your body, consider this as a heap of materiality. Don't put any judgmental, assuming, or in the sense non-judgmental, unassuming, choiceless approach. My terminology or my vocabulary, I would say, you become quickly rejuvenated. You feel like child. You feel like everything is fresh. Everything is greener than what you think. Instead, if you claim this is me, this is mine, this is myself, you can't see this kind of a non-local phenomena. Whenever it happens, you develop fear. Whenever they happen, you feel vomitish. Whenever it happens, you feel bored. Whenever it happens, you feel monotonous, and you get up and go. So instead, if you can go deep into that, it says it is suffering. The materiality is suffering. Why should I commit? Let it suffer. Disclaim it. Disavow it. So that is why the Buddha says, world is suffering. I am not telling it is not. But understanding this suffering nature is the biggest happiness in the human mind. Because this is the highest enlightenment. Otherwise, such a flux, such an ungovernable thing, such an uncontrollable thing we claim as me, so much so you have to commit in order to keep it permanent, in order to keep pleasurable, the materiality will never give any promise, any pleasurability, any non-changing nature. So this understanding, you must have the basic thesis to see. My whole meditation is to see materiality as source of suffering. If you claim it, you suffer. If you understand, use the materiality to understand it's a permanent, impermanent nature, and it's a torturing nature, that's called the noble quest. It's called Arya Pariyesana. So you are making use your body for this experimenting, and the person written by sitting close by you may not be using the same body as for this noble quest. He may be using for different issue, but within that body also the phenomena is the same. Whether he or she is using the body as meditation object, or see-through, or with the same hypothesis, it is immaterial. The body is the same. But if you do not have this perspective, you will never see. Even with the perspective, with the correct view, you must have the methodology. When and where the evolution happen, or revolution happen, radical thing happen, you must share with the other co-practitioners. Then only you will understand how to understand the truth as the truth. Otherwise, your conceptual mind will consider concept as reality or reality as concepts. So that is what we call mad world. So within this world also there is a type of people we call mad. There is another kind of people we call not mad. But the mad people understand that not mad people also mad. Only the asylum people knows it. The doctors and the psychopathic doctors, they don't know. They consider they are healthy. So the Buddha says whole Putujjana, commoners, are eccentric, without exception, unless otherwise you are ready to understand this suffering nature, not by just being a readiness, but you have to go through it. While it is happening, you have to have a proper interpretation, proper interviews, then only this evolution happens. That is why even if you have all the other variables are correct, overnight that cannot happen. By listening one talk, it cannot happen. To repetitively do it, but in the present day complex world, who the hell get this chance? To listen again and again, do the same thing again and again, because so much of commitments. Each and every commitment pull you away from the present moment. So therefore we individually must have this motto, all these responsibilities, all these things good, but they never allow to have here and now, or reality, or experience. But they all make us eccentric, so therefore we must try to have a kind of a regular timetable to be with me, here, now. That we call sati, mindfulness. Establishment of the same thing we call satipatthana. So it is appear like against the grain. But if you know the hypothesis, if you know the methodology, it's a very thrilling thing. It's a very adventurous thing. It's a very, very rejuvenating thing. So for the last 40 years or 50 years, now that kind of a people contemplating mindful are really in a gradual development. Because the whole world is corrupted. Environmental corruption, global warming, mental corruption, uneven distribution of the wealth, and destruction of the nature. So therefore those who take this mindful path, they find even the world is warming, even the external world is getting corrupted. Even I started with the corrupted mind, even the ecosystem is distracted, but the mindfulness is working. So that is the hilarious message. So therefore, whether to you to prove this, what is happening external world, or correct it by the external method, or take your own time, be mindful, and that also has kind of a contribution to the world peace. So therefore, sometime I used to say, be mindful and mind your own business. Simple as that. It appears like very selfish. But my whole life, it has worked. So you being married people, you being organized people, appear like it is going against the grain. But give a chance. Give a try. And be mindful, mind your own business, then your resources you can focus maybe a small place or small time, then you can see the penetration. So I would like to sum up the talk with that remark. Please be mindful, please mind your own business. Thank you very much for listening.